Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. Today's video is XinFin XDC. Before we go into this one, do check out the other videos on the channel. Loads of different variations of topics, discussions and variations of assets to go through as well. So make sure you do that as and when you can. Let's go into the first topic of this video. Now this is really cool, guys. So Atul here, one of the co-founders of XinFin XDC, has announced yesterday about the introduction of a so-called Doug Brooks. Now this is quite amazing in terms of the aspect of what could be done here with his expertise and experience. So Doug is very much around the aspect of CBDCs, the introduction of digital tokenized assets. And for one, this is a big topic, of course, in blockchain in general right now over the next few years, is the integration and piloting of new RTGS systems to replace the existing financial system that we know in the world for many decades now, being replaced by a digital format. Now, many other projects out there like Ripple, for example, Stellar, do have a lot of CBDC interactions right now as well. And we see the likes of Algorand, for example, and Quant with their relations with things like the digital pound, for an example. But of course, we know XDC has big influx into the likes of R3 Corda and Quant and many other big partners in that remit as well. So really big things coming for it. If we look at the history of Doug here, just on LinkedIn, some really big things spring out to me. So obviously in the last couple of years or last few months as well, working for companies like this at Smithers, he was head of sales and marketing at Olmet Security Printing, I believe, Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. This one's quite interesting, guys. So security printing is very much around the printing of money, banknotes, worldwide arguably as well, amongst another areas of banking and finance. So you can see the experience here over a long period of time, probably over 10 years worth of a very interesting experience in the banking financial industries. And when we come to the nearer points of time, of course, now being added as a special advisor of digital currencies and tokenization for XDC network. And back to Atul's post here about asset tokenization and CBDC projects from banks and financial institutions. How cool is this, guys? This is one of the things we mentioned in an XDC video about 6-7 months ago. Because they transitioned their logos and everything like this, the branding changed, the feel to it changed. A lot of people were complaining as retail investors, but even general institutions, saying that perhaps they weren't being taken seriously enough. And I would hand on heart say that the last 12 months, XDC XinFin have really excelled, both their brand perception, the way they communicate, and also what they're doing to achieve the extra experience and knowledge and within their network and within their project to help them take this to a new level. I think this is really exciting, guys, because obviously CBDCs is a huge aspect of blockchain and cryptography for the next few years, certainly as the financial system changes over, as we mentioned just a moment ago. Of course, RTGS system is in pilot mode right now from November this year all the way through to arguably November 2025 when it pretty much gets fully switched on around the world. So XinFin XDC being a massive powerhouse in public and private sectors, as well as trade now as well through the likes of trade tech and what it's doing with other exchanges and things like this. This is really a big opportunity, guys, for the near future and longevity of XDC XinFin. To bring in people like this with their expertise and knowledge is absolutely phenomenal move and really exciting to see the development as time goes by. So I thought I'd just throw that one out there because this is absolutely huge in my opinion. I think this is a massive move. Look at a bit of the experience here from Doug as well. Central banks, blockchain strategies, loads of information here about his influence in things like government levels, diplomatic channels, all these things, guys. High security printing technology company. This guy is absolutely on it, and now he's part of XinFin's team. We think about like Andre Casterman, an absolute hero in the space as well, and in terms of finance, his backing with Swift and things like this. It's all coming together, guys, all coming together. Before we go into the chart, one last thing here, I do recommend keeping an eye out for their spaces that's coming out on Thursday, I believe. So this Thursday, I think part of the XDC XinFin team do indeed have a Twitter spaces coming out. So make sure you register for that. But this is absolutely brilliant, guys, to see this movement from XDC. Let's jump into the chart, if I can get that up and running as well, because obviously like XinFin, XDC's token hasn't been moving around too much the last month or two. I think the last video I did was a few weeks back, Of course, we had this big downturn because of FTX situation in the last week or so. XDC is floating around quite strongly in terms of like its point in time. So I'm just going to switch over obviously to XDC so we can see this properly. So you can see here we've had this big drag down on XDC based on that FTX movement. But saying that, between the marker of 3 cents and 2 cents, it's really stabilizing itself at 2.5 right now. This is matching up with support levels that we saw previously back here in September and areas that we saw back in June as well. If we track back further than that, a lot of the data is not really present massively around these areas. So for me, this is a really interesting point in time for XDC to see if we fully stabilize around this area. It also proves a couple of other points, because if we look at the volumes, they have obviously been coming down for some time anyway. I think people get bored and perhaps move money around in these kind of markets, or obviously utilizing it, maybe pulling it back out to use in the real world, as it were. But we've seen this tail down. So there's been a massive opportunity to grab XDC at a slightly lower price. Will it come down lower? Absolutely, possibly could. The next lower regions, as I said, are just under that 2.5 cent mark, and maybe towards that 2 cent mark as we saw back here in June the 30th this year, 2022. So there is a bit of movement to go each way, and we can only really look at the data on the charts here to suggest, right, what are we looking at next? We're in a downward trend, so there's an argument to say that we could be pushing down towards that 2 cent mark. If Bitcoin, for example, flops down again, sort of below those 15k marks and towards maybe 12, it could drag the rest of the market, and in this anticipation of XDC's point of view, bring it down to those potential levels. But in general, guys, my honest opinion about XDC is, if there's anything opportunity under 10 cents for XDC, for the longevity of it as a holder, it's an absolute steal. And to have it in these current positions, whether it's 2.5 cents or 2 cents, I personally don't really care. I'm accumulating the XDC left, right and center as and when I can in these kind of areas, obviously with an anticipation that we may come down lower and try and grab that 0.5 cent saving. So you just got to keep an eye out for this. And the RSIs are really interesting as well. So obviously the FTX pull down brought it down to 21 on the 14-day RSI and 34 on the 28. We've pulled it back a bit upwards in the last day or two to 31 and 38 respectively on the 14 and 28 day. So even right now, for me personally, and it's not financial advice, but these are great buy points for me personally to accumulate more and more. So we're going to have to keep an eye on this. I'm going to do another review of XDC in a few days' time, because I'm back on doing a few more videos each day now, which is really great. But you can see on the performance indicators on the right side how much more room there is to grow. When that bull market eventually comes, who knows when that'll be? It could be 6 months, a year, 2 years, who knows? But there's lots of room for growth here. I was buying XDC at all sorts of different higher levels, but to have it down back here is absolutely brilliant, because I was always like, how do people get like 100,000 or 1 million of these tokens? They must be absolutely mega rich. But like right now, it's a perfect opportunity to accumulate as much as you could. So when these bull markets do return, wow, we're going to have some significant gains and returns for that. That's for sure. So in the short term here, the weekly and the monthly, it's obviously still down, but the numbers are diminishing slightly. So this is showing some good strength and confidence in this asset in particular. But from my perspective, this is a huge long-term hold one. I think there's massive capabilities of XinFin XDC. Its technology is very powerful, very opportunist. I think we just need to see it in more action. I think a lot of these blockchains over the last few years have like boasted many transactions per second. But of course, when the networks get overloaded and they're used and actually used in real world, they do diminish significantly. So XDC's sort of positioned itself as a massive institutional solution. It really needs to make sure that it appeals and also adheres to what it says it will do. So I'm really intrigued to see this one. I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal, and especially with its interactions, as I said, with a multitude of mega partners that we all know and love here on the channel, but also what it's doing with the real world banking system right now. So there's plenty of opportunity, guys. I'm not going to go into huge chart detail here because, as I said, the markers are already in here for me. 2.5 cents. This is a simple buying area where we are pretty much right now, with two possible opportunities down at those lower 2 cent areas. If we're going to go heavier lower than that, Bitcoin's probably going to have to come down a lot lower. A lot of things still pair with this market trend of Bitcoin and what's going on in the market and the world in general, right? So just keep an eye on this. But for now, I just wanted to draw the attention of this massive, brilliant news for XDC. People are probably going to ask, like, well, why hasn't it affected the market? Well, the answer is, guys, we're in a recession. And I don't know if you've watched the news or hear the news, but it's pretty messy out there. So that's why we're not going to get huge influxes in and out. And to be honest, I always said this, XDC, in my opinion, is still massively under the radar. And I think more and more people are cottoning onto it for sure. And I think it would be a mistake, personally, not to be looking at this in people's portfolios. That's just my honest opinion. So guys, we're going to wrap that up there. Thank you for watching. We're going to catch up with XDC in a few days' time, as I said. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this all develops with these new staff members and advisories coming in. Let us know in the comments below what you think, but I think this is absolutely brilliant. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.